Good evening. Tonight's story is called The Story of Sun Wukong's Battle in Heaven from ancient Chinese mythology. So, snuggle up under the blankets and prepare for a wonderful night of sleep. And once you're all settled in, close your eyes. I was 31 when I first heard the tale of Sun Wukong's rebellion against heaven, whispered to me by an elderly tea merchant in a dim corner of a Hangzhou market. His weathered hands trembled slightly as he poured the fragrant oolong, steam rising between us like the mists that once shrouded the mountain of flowers and fruit, where a stone gave birth to a monkey who would dare to challenge the gods themselves. Rain tapped gently against the shop's tiled roof as I traced my fingers over a small jade figurine of a monkey wielding a staff. The merchant noticed my curiosity and smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners like ancient parchment. "You admire the Monkey King?" he asked, his voice as soft as silk. "Perhaps you would care to hear his true story, one my family has carried for generations." I settled deeper into my chair as the merchant carefully arranged 2 porcelain cups on the worn wooden table. Outside, the rain intensified, sealing us in a pocket of tranquility amidst the clamor of the marketplace. The shop smelled of jasmine and aged paper, with bundles of tea leaves hanging from the rafters and casting gentle shadows across the floor. "The story begins not with the birth as you and I know it," the old man said, "but with a stone." His voice dropped to a reverent whisper. "Imagine, if you will, a mountain at the eastern edge of the world, the mountain of flowers and fruit, where a magical stone sat undisturbed for ages. This stone had absorbed the essence of heaven and earth since the beginning of time, bathed in the light of sun and moon, soaking in the very breath of the universe." I watched as he closed his eyes, as though seeing this ancient mountain in his mind. One day, this stone cracked open, and from within emerged a stone egg. From this egg sprang forth a fully formed monkey, his eyes gleaming with a peculiar intelligence. The moment he opened his eyes, a golden light shot from them straight to the celestial palace, alerting heaven itself to his existence. The merchant paused to take a sip of tea, his gaze drifting toward the figurine I had been examining. This newborn monkey was unlike any other creature. He could speak and move from the very first moment. He bowed to the 4 directions and declared his existence to the universe. Such was the first act of the one who would become Sun Wukong. The rain pattered more softly now, its rhythm like distant applause. This extraordinary monkey soon discovered others of his kind living on the mountain. They were drawn to his fearlessness and wisdom when they came upon a waterfall that concealed a hidden cave. It was the stone monkey who dared to leap through the water curtain while others hesitated. The old man's hands animated the tail, mimicking the leap with surprising agility. Behind the waterfall, he found a paradise of stone chamber, perfect for shelter, surrounded by fruit trees and clear springs. The monkeys proclaimed him their king for his discovery, and he accepted the title with pride. For years, he ruled them justly, and they lived in harmony and happiness. Tai leaned forward. If they were so content, why did he eventually leave? The merchant's eyes twinkled. Ah, the question that haunts all restless souls. You see, even in paradise, our Monkey King came to understand mortality. During a summer feast, he suddenly wept. Wept. Why? Because he realized that despite his strength and position, he too would one day age and die, descending to the underworld like all creatures. This revelation filled him with such sorrow that he left his kingdom, traveling across oceans and continents in search of immortality. The merchant refilled our cups, the steam curling up like question marks for 10 years. He wandered until finding a Taoist immortal named Subudi, who recognized the extraordinary potential within this determined monkey. Though reluctant at first, the master agreed to take Sun Wukong as a disciple. What did he teach him? I asked. Patience. The merchant smiled. And then the secrets of transformation. Under Subbudi's guidance, Sun Wukong learned the 72 earthly transformations, allowing him to shapeshift into anything from the tiniest insect to the largest beast. He mastered cloud somersaulting, traveling thousands of miles with a single leap. He learned to recognize evil and protective spells, to freeze humans and animals with a word. The merchant's voice took on a rhythmic quality, like he was reciting poetry from memory. But perhaps, most importantly, Subudi taught him the secret of immortality. When Wukong finally returned to his mountain years later, he was no longer merely the Monkey King. He had become something far greater and more dangerous, a monkey with the powers of a god. He fell silent for a moment, his eyes on the rain-streaked window, and thus began the true journey of Sun Wukong's journey that would eventually lead him to challenge heaven itself. The tea merchant's eyes gleamed as he reached beneath the counter and produced a small wooden box. From within, he withdrew a miniature staff, delicately carved from dark wood and painted with gold accents. For all his newfound powers, the merchant continued, Sun Wukong lacked something essential, a weapon worthy of his abilities. The common weapons of his monkey subjects, stones and crude spears, seemed beneath his growing stature. A crack of thunder punctuated his words, and I found myself leaning closer. One day, a fellow monkey mentioned the Dragon Kings, rulers of the four seas, who possessed legendary treasures. Without hesitation, Wukong somersaulted over clouds and waves until he reached the crystal palace of Wukong, Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. The merchant's fingers traced patterns on the table, as if drawing the underwater kingdom. Imagine a palace of pearl and jade, with pillars of living coral where strange sea creatures swam through hallways instead of walking. The floors shimmered with embedded pearls, while the ceilings were alive with softly glowing algae. Into this serene domain crashed our Monkey King, dripping and demanding. He chuckled softly. The Dragon King received this unusual visitor with cautious courtesy, offering him tea, much like we're sharing now. But Sun Wukong had not come for pleasantries. I require a weapon, he declared, one fitting for a king such as myself. The old man's voice deepened as he took on the persona of the Dragon King. We have many fine weapons, Wukong replied, ordering his servants to bring forth magical swords, spears, and axes, each one a masterpiece that would have satisfied any mortal warrior. I watched as the merchant's fingers curled in dismissal, mimicking the monkey's gesture. Sun Wukong tested them all, finding each too light, too flimsy for his liking. The Dragon King's patience wore thin as his finest offerings were rejected. Then something caught the Monkey King's Aja, thick iron pillar in the treasury, marked with dark bands that seemed to pulse with ancient power. Sighed. The rain had stopped, but neither of us noticed. So engrossed were we in the tale. This was no ordinary pillar. It was the Ruji Jingu Bang the As-Will Go Bandit Staff, a divine measuring tool used by the Great Yu to determine the depths of the cosmic waters. For centuries, it had lain in the Dragon King's treasury, considered too heavy for practical use. I examined the miniature replica in his hands with new appreciation. The pillar was enormous, 20,000 pounds of black iron, thick as a barrel and long as a pillar. This will do, declared Sun Wukong, approaching it while the Dragon King scoffed. To everyone's astonishment, The Monkey King lifted it with ease, shocking the entire court. The merchant's eyes widened dramatically. Even more surprising was what happened next. At Sun Wukong's touch, the pillar shrank to the perfect size for his hands, still dense and heavy, but now a manageable staff that could extend or contract according to his will. He handed me the replica, which felt unexpectedly heavy in my palm. The Dragon King was horrified. That treasure had been a gift from the Supreme Buddha himself, and now this upstart monkey had claimed it. But there was little he could do. The staff had chosen its master. I turned the replica over in my hands, noting the intricate cloud patterns etched into its surface. Triumphant, Sun Wukong departed with his prize, but not before helping himself to other treasures: a magical suit of golden armor, a phoenix feather cap, and cloud-stepping boots. The Dragon King could only watch in dismay as this audacious monkey pillaged his treasury. The merchant smiled at my enthralled expression. Upon returning to the mountain of flowers and fruit, Sun Wukong demonstrated his new weapon to his subjects. With a single thought, he could shrink it to the size of a needle and hide it behind his ear. Another thought would expand it to touch the highest heaven and the lowest hell. He gestured toward the darkening sky outside. To prove his mastery, he stood upon a cloud and commanded the staff to grow, sweeping it through the celestial realm until even the stars trembled. The display was so magnificent and terrifying that demon kings from 72 caves came to pledge allegiance to him. The merchant's voice dropped to a whisper. That night, they held a great feast with immortal wines and rare fruits. As the Monkey King sat among his new followers, accepting their praise and tribute, a seed of dangerous pride took root in his heart, a pride that would soon bring him into direct conflict with heaven itself. The merchant paused to light a small oil lamp as evening shadows lengthened across the shop. The flame cast his face an amber light, deepening the wrinkles around his eyes into mysterious valleys. After the celebrations, he continued. Exhausted from wine and revelry, Sun Wukong fell into a deep sleep. But even in sleep, his extraordinary nature revealed itself. As he dreamed, two stern-faced officials approached him, holding a scroll sealed with otherworldly symbols. The merchant's voice shifted to a formal, cold tone. "Sun Wukong," they intoned, "your time has come. We are officers from the underworld, sent to collect your soul." A chill ran through me despite the warmth of the shop. But the Monkey King merely laughed at them. "I have studied the Tao and achieved immortality," he declared. "Your summons has no power over me," the officials insisted, showing him their register where his name was clearly written, along with his appointed time of death, the end of his allotted 342 years of life. The merchant's fingers drummed lightly on the table. Enraged at this bureaucratic insistence, Sun Wukong drew his staff, which had shrunk to needle size, behind his ear. In an instant, it expanded in his grip. "I'll show you the meaning of immortality," he growled, and with that, he followed these underworld officials straight to the realm of death itself. I blinked in surprise. He went willingly to the underworld. Not out of compliance, the merchant chuckled, but defiance. Imagine the courts of the underworld, 10 vast halls presided over by stern judges, where souls await judgment amid the cries of the damned and the shuffling of ghostly clerks. Into this solemn domain bounded Sun Wukong, his fur bristling with life and power in a realm defined by its absence. The lamp flame flickered, casting dancing shadows on the wall behind the merchant. The 10 kings of hell gathered to address this unprecedented intrusion, a living being who had forced his way into death's domain. They explained the universal law. All creatures are born, live their allotted time, and then die. Even an immortal cultivator, such as himself, would eventually return to this realm, though after a much longer life. The merchant leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. Sun Wukong would have none of it. He demanded to see the register of life and death, where all mortal names are recorded alongside their lifespans. When they reluctantly presented this vast book, he quickly located the section for Monkey's Hand. What do you think he did next? I shook my head, captivated. With a sweep of his hand, he crossed out his name and the names of every monkey in existence. Then, before the astonished judges could stop him, he tore through the underworld like a hurricane, overturning desks, smashing the instruments of punishment, and freeing countless souls awaiting judgment. As if to contain his delight at the audacity of it all, pandemonium erupted. The 10 kings hastily reported this calamity to the Jade Emperor, himself supreme ruler of heaven, explaining how this monkey had not only escaped his fated death, but had thrown the entire system of cosmic justice into chaos. I found myself smiling at the image of bureaucratic afterlife officials in disarray. Jade Emperor was troubled by these reports. This was no ordinary troublemaker. This was a being who had stolen immortality, defied death itself, and disrupted the natural order. Something had to be done, but what? The Monkey King's powers were formidable, his new weapon indestructible. The merchant poured the last of the tea, the leaves swirling in patterns that resembled clouds. After careful deliberation, the Jade Emperor decided on a clever solution. Rather than punishing Sun Wukong, he would bring him to heaven, giving him an official position where he could be monitored and controlled. That seems unexpectedly reasonable, I observed. The merchant's eyes twinkled. Indeed, a heavenly messenger was dispatched to the mountain of flowers and fruit, bearing an imperial invitation appointing Sun Wukong as the keeper of the celestial horses, a grand title that the Monkey King accepted with characteristic enthusiasm. His smile turned ironic, but soon our Monkey King would discover that his prestigious new position was little more than that of a celestial stable boy, and his pride would not bear such an insult for long. A gentle breeze stirred the paper lantern hanging outside the shop, sending amber light dancing across the merchant's collection of teapots. Night had fully descended now, yet I felt no desire to leave, caught in the spell of his storytelling. When Sun Wukong learned the true nature of his position, the merchant continued. His rage was magnificent to behold. The celestial horse stables were vast, housing thousands of divine steeds, but to the Monkey King, the role was beneath his dignity. The old man mimicked Sun Wukong's indignant posture. "Stable boy," he bellowed, his voice echoing through the celestial halls. "I, who have mastered immortality and defied death itself." I could almost hear the outrage in the merchant's skillful retelling. Without ceremony, he abandoned his post and returned to his mountain kingdom, declaring himself by a new title of his own creation, Great Sage, equal to heaven. He commissioned a great banner with these words and hung it above his throne in the water curtain cave. The merchant's eyes gleamed with mischief. Word quickly reached the Jade Emperor of this defiant self-promotion. Heavenly generals were dispatched to arrest the presumptuous monkey, but Sun Wukong defeated them with embarrassing ease, sending them back bruised and humiliated. What did the Jade Emperor do then? I asked. Surprisingly, he chose diplomacy. Celestial messengers arrived bearing a genuine appointment to the title, Great Sage, equal to heaven, though the position held no actual power or responsibilities. It was merely an honorary title meant to placate the Monkey King's ego. The merchant lifted his hands in an expression of mock innocence, and for a time, this strategy worked. Sun Wukong was delighted with his grand title. He moved into a celestial residence provided for him and appeared content. A cat slipped through the open door of the shop, curling around the merchant's ankles before settling beside the warm lamp. But idle hands, or in this case, paws, find mischief. Sun Wukong soon discovered he had been excluded from a grand celestial peach banquet hosted by the Queen Mother of the West. These were no ordinary peaches. They were the legendary peaches of immortality, grown in sacred orchards and harvested only once every few thousand years. He traced the rim of his cup with one finger. These divine fruits could grant even greater longevity to those who already possessed immortality and bestow tremendous celestial power. Naturally, the Monkey King felt entitled to partake. "Let me guess," I interjected. "He crashed the banquet." The merchant laughed. "Better. He snuck into the orchard beforehand and devoured the ripest, most powerful peaches straight from the branches. When discovered, he fled, but his journey of defiance had only begun." His voice took on a rhythmic cadence, like he was reciting ancient poetry. From the sacred garden, he somersaulted to Laozi's laboratory, where he found pills of immortality still in their cauldrons. These too he consumed. Next, he broke into the Jade Emperor's private cellar and drank jar after jar of celestial wine. Drunk on stolen wine, filled with immortal peaches and elixirs, he staggered back to his palace and fell into a deep, intoxicated sleep. The cat purred contentedly as the merchant stroked its fur. When he awoke, all heaven was in an uproar. The theft had been discovered, and this time there would be no diplomatic solution. The Jade Emperor deployed his most powerful celestial generals, 100,000 strong, to surround the Flower Fruit Mountain and capture the rebellious Monkey King. The merchant's hands became animated, sketching battle scenes in the air between us. What followed was a battle unlike any other. The heavenly forces attacked with magnificent weapons, the blazing wheels of the fire gods, the water dragons of the sea deities, the thunderbolts of Lei Gong, the thunder god. The mountain shook with the force of their assault. Dark clouds gathered, and lightning split the sky. I was entranced, picturing the cosmic battle. Yet, against this celestial might stood a single monkey, wielding his magic staff. He expanded to a terrifying height, his fur bristling with power. With each sweep of his weapon, entire battalions fell. He multiplied himself, using hairs from his body, creating thousands of identical Monkey Kings that fought with equal ferocity. Neither heavenly chains nor divine nets could hold him. The merchant's voice rose and fell like waves. Erlang Shen, nephew of the Jade Emperor and a god of tremendous skill, matched Sun Wukong transformation for transformation. When Wukong became a fish, Erlang became a fishing bird. When Wukong became a sparrow, Erlang became a hawk. Their battle ranged across earth and sky, neither gaining advantage. He sighed, a sound filled with both admiration and sadness. Yet even the great sage, equal to heaven, could not stand forever against all the forces of the celestial realm. Through the combined efforts of Laozi, Erlang Shen, and many other deities, Sun Wukong was finally captured, though not a single deity emerged unscathed from the confrontation. The merchant fell silent for a moment, letting the tension build. Bound in unbreakable chains, the defiant monkey was brought before the Jade Emperor himself. The crime was unprecedented. A lowly earthly creature had challenged heaven itself. The sentence was equally severe: execution. The merchant reached for a small wooden container and sprinkled fresh tea leaves into a waiting pot. The aroma of jasmine filled our small sanctuary as he poured steaming water over them. Execution, I echoed, unable to hide my concern for the Monkey King's fate. The old man's eyes crinkled with amusement. Yes, or so they thought. The celestial executioners tried everything. They stabbed him with spears, but his skin, hardened by his consumption of immortal peaches and elixirs, could not be pierced. They attempted to chop off his head, but their axes bounced off his neck. They shot him with divine arrows, which merely bounced away. He swirled the brewing tea gently. Growing desperate, they cast him into Laozi's 8 trigrams furnace, designed to refine immortal elixirs. For 49 days, celestial flames roared around him. Surely that destroyed him, I ventured. Quite the opposite, the merchant replied, his voice soft with wonder. When they finally opened the furnace, expecting ashes, they found Sun Wukong leaping out, more powerful than before. The celestial fire had burned away his mortal weaknesses while forging his immortal essence into something even more indestructible. His eyes now glowed with a fiery light that could see through any disguise or illusion. I shook my head, marveling at the Monkey King's resilience. The Jade Emperor and his celestial court were at their wits' end. Nothing in heaven could subdue this irrepressible monkey. It was then that a venerable presence entered the celestial hall. The Buddha himself arrived from the western paradise. The merchant's voice took on a serene quality, as though the very mention of the Buddha brought peace to the turbulent tale. The Buddha listened calmly as the Jade Emperor recounted Sun Wukong's crimes. Then, with infinite compassion, he offered to deal with the troublesome immortal himself. The celestial court watched as the Buddha approached the still defiant Monkey King. Outside the shop, the evening crowds had thinned, leaving an unusual quiet that enhanced the intimacy of the story. I hear you claim to be the great sage equal to heaven, the Buddha said to Sun Wukong, his voice gentle but carrying tremendous authority. Your abilities are indeed remarkable. The Monkey King puffed up with pride at this acknowledgement. There is nothing I cannot do, he boasted. I've learned the secrets of immortality, defied death itself, and defeated heaven's greatest warriors. I should be the Jade Emperor. The merchant folded his hands patiently, just as I imagined the Buddha might have. Perhaps, said the Buddha, but I propose a small wager. If you can escape from my palm, I will persuade the Jade Emperor to yield his throne to you. But if you fail, you must accept punishment for your disruptive behavior. Sun Wukong laughed at the simplicity of the challenge. The Buddha's palm against his cloud somersaulting ability that could cross thousands of miles in a single leap. It seemed almost insultingly easy. The merchant extended his own palm upward in demonstration. The Buddha sat upon his lotus throne and held out his right hand, a hand that appeared ordinary in size, just like mine. Confident in his victory, Sun Wukong stepped onto the Buddha's palm, his staff casually resting on his shoulder. I leaned forward, captivated by the turning point in the story. Watch closely, Sun Wukong declared to the assembled deities. With that, he tightened his grip on his staff and executed his greatest cloud somersault yet. He flew like a meteor, the wind whistling past his ears as he streaked across the sky. The merchant's eyes gazed distantly, as if seeing through time itself. The Monkey King traveled faster than he ever had before, passing clouds and stars until he reached what seemed to be the very edge of the universe. There, he found 5 towering pillars reaching into the endless void pink, surrounded by a fragrant mist. This must be the boundary of existence itself, he thought proudly. To prove his journey, he plucked a hair and transformed it into a brush, using it to write on the middle pillar. The great sage, equal to heaven, was here. for good measure. He relieved himself at the base of the pillar before beginning his triumphant return journey. The merchant paused, sipping his tea, when Sun Wukong somersaulted back to where the Buddha waited. He was already rehearsing his demands for the Jade Emperor's throne. "I've reached the edge of the universe," he proclaimed. 5 pillars marked the boundary. I left my mark on the middle one to prove my victory. A smile slowly formed on the merchant's weathered face. The Buddha looked down at the boastful monkey with infinite patience and said, "You never left my palm." The merchant's words hung in the air like smoke. "You never left my palm," he repeated softly. I blinked, trying to process this twist. How could that be? Sun Wukong refused to believe it as well. The merchant continued. He argued vehemently, describing the pillars he had seen, even mentioning his territorial marking as proof. The old man slowly lifted his hand, examining his own palm in the lamplight. The Buddha then gently curled his fingers, revealing the truth. "Look closely," he told the Monkey King. There, on the Buddha's middle finger, was Sun Wukong's writing, and the scent of his disrespectful act still lingered. My eyes widened in understanding. The 5 pillars, the 5 fingers of the Buddha's hand. The merchant nodded. Despite all his power, all his magic, all his blinding speed, Sun Wukong had never left the Buddha's palm. What he thought was the edge of the universe was merely the edge of the Buddha's hand. A cat stretched lazily beside the lamp, seemingly aware of the Monkey King's humbling. For the first time, Sun Wukong was speechless. His boundless confidence shattered as he realized the true measure of his limitations. He attempted to escape, but the Buddha swiftly turned his hand over and pushed the monkey down, transforming his 5 fingers into the 5 elements metal, wood, water, fire, and earth that became a massive mountain pinning Sun Wukong to the ground. The merchant's voice dropped to a solemn tone. This was 5-element mountain, and beneath it lay the humbled Monkey King, with only his head and hands free. The Buddha placed a paper talisman bearing a magical seal on the mountain, ensuring that Sun Wukong could not escape by any means. I felt a strange sympathy for the trapped immortal, so that was his punishment. Eternal imprisonment. "Not eternal," the merchant replied, "but long enough to teach even the most stubborn heart some wisdom." The Buddha declared that Sun Wukong would remain trapped until someone came to release him, someone who would give him a chance at redemption. The oil in the lamp burned low, casting longer shadows across the walls. For 500 years, Sun Wukong lay beneath that mountain. Rain fell on his face. Snow covered him in winter. The burning sun beat down on him in summer. Animals nested in his fur. Insects crawled across his skin. Seasons changed. Dynasties rose and fell, and still he remained trapped. I tried to imagine such an imprisonment, centuries of immobility for being defined by his freedom and movement. At first, he raged, cursing heaven and the Buddha, straining against his prison with all his might, but the mountain would not budge. Eventually, his fury gave way to frustration, then to resignation, and finally, after many long years, to reflection. The merchant's eyes took on a distant quality. With nothing but time, Sun Wukong was forced to consider his actions, his motivations, his endless ambition. The monkey who had never known stillness was granted centuries of it. In that enforced meditation, something slowly began to change within him. He found wisdom, I suggested, perhaps the beginnings of it. The merchant said carefully, or at least the recognition of his need for it. 500 years is a long time, even for an immortal. It was enough time to wear down his arrogance, like water smoothing a jagged stone outside. A bell sounded from a distant temple, marking the late hour. Then one day, Sun Wukong heard footsteps approaching. A Buddhist monk named Tang Sanzang was passing by the mountain on a sacred quest westward to retrieve holy scriptures from India. The goddess of mercy, Guan Yan, had told the monk he would find a protector at this place. The merchant leaned forward slightly. Tang Sanzang saw the Monkey King's head protruding from beneath the mountain and approached without fear. Sun Wukong, his voice hoarse from disuse, called out to the monk. "Free me," he begged, "and I will protect you on your journey. I will be your disciple and serve you faithfully." I could almost hear the desperation in the imagined plea. The monk was skeptical, having been warned of this monkey's dangerous past. But Guan Yan appeared and confirmed that Sun Wukong's liberation had been ordained by the Buddha himself. She placed a golden band around the Monkey King's head, a device that would tighten painfully whenever Temp Sanzang chanted a certain sutra, ensuring the monkey's obedience. The merchant touched his own forehead. With the mountain removed, Sun Wukong stretched his limbs for the first time in 5 centuries. But he was no longer the same being who had been imprisoned. The brash, defiant Monkey King now stood humbled before his new master, ready to begin a different kind of journey, one that would lead not to a throne in heaven, but toward enlightenment itself. The merchant carefully extinguished the oil lamp, allowing moonlight to filter through the paper windows. It cast a silvery glow across his features, giving him an almost otherworldly appearance. And so began the journey that would transform Sun Wukong from rebel to guardian, from defiant monkey to enlightened being. He said, the path westward was fraught with demons, monsters, and trials that tested not only his strength, but his newfound patience and humility. "What kind of trials?" I asked, reluctant to see the story end. Along their journey, they encountered fierce beasts and cunning spirits who sought to devour Tang Sanzang, believing his flesh would grant immortality. Sun Wukong protected him fiercely, his magic staff never far from hand. They were later joined by 2 other disciples of pig-like creature named Ju Baji, once a celestial admiral before his fall from grace, and a water spirit named Sha Wujing, both seeking redemption through service. The merchant smiled fondly, as though speaking of old friends. But perhaps the greatest trials for Sun Wukong were not the battles, but the moments of restraint. Many times, his master misunderstood situations, blaming Wukong for violence that was necessary for their protection. The golden headband would tighten, causing him excruciating pain, yet he persevered. I nodded, understanding the deeper message. He was learning discipline, yes, and something even more valuable, compassion. The monkey, who once fought only for his own glory, now fought to protect others. The immortal, who had sought to rule heaven, now humbly served a mortal monk. With each step westward, the Monkey King moved further from the being he had been, and closer to the being he could become. The merchant reached for the jade figurine of Sun Wukong that had first caught my attention, turning it thoughtfully in his palm. After 14 years and 9,000 miles, facing 81 trials, they finally reached India and obtained the sacred scriptures. Upon their triumphant return to China, each disciple received divine recognition for their service and sacrifice.